As she mentioned, thank you, Ryan, Justin, and everybody that's put this together. I've been looking forward to this. And when the topic was brought up to be work for this week, the first thing I thought of, as I'm sure most of you did, was the song "Let's Work" by Prince. And so there's a line in that song, let me show you how to work. And so that became the kind of crux of what I wanted to talk about today. So I had an opportunity a couple years ago to work with Prince. And this was a lifelong, dream that I realized. And I had no idea what that would be like, and all the things that I learned from it. And so this became, I think, a good opportunity for me to share some of those things. I haven't spoken about this before, and so I thought, okay, this is a perfect opportunity to share some of those insights. So there's a lot of people out here that may not even recognize this symbol. So anybody that doesn't recognize this symbol, there's some young people here, don't be embarrassed. So Prince changed his name to this symbol. It became kind of his glyph in our design community. I can tell you I don't love the glyph, but it has meant a lot to me over time. And so for those people who did not grow up in the 80s, let me give you a brief primer on who Prince is. So in today's terms, imagine taking Taylor Swift, imagine taking the Pharrell and Justin Timberlake and Lady Gaga, the provocative, and the swagger that Kanye has. We grew up with one person who captured all of that. Am I right to say? I mean, people that grew up in the 80s, that's what we kind of. And exactly, he's a little short, but very big as a person. So in today's terms, the aspiration of working with somebody like that was very, very great to me. And so I think to put a little in context, more than just the 80s, there's going to be a group of people that last kind of a timeless, and I think Prince stands tall in all of those. One name to call out almost all of these people. So for those who did not grow up in that period and may not recognize kind of the stature, please keep in mind whatever the biggest star is that you can think of that you would like to work with, that's what it meant to me. So what he's become for me over my entire career as a creative person is a creative leader. And I've always been on the outside up until a few years ago looking in, and so that leadership was still out there that we could all kind of take pieces of. But when I got to see from the inside what that meant, it reached a whole new level. So this creative leader to me started when I was very, very young. And so I'm going to give you a little answer to the question people ask. How do you get to work with Prince? So here's my 14-step program. So for me it started February 12th, 1983. I know that date because it was Trisha Hill's birthday. So I was 13, I was 12, and she was 13. It was her 13th birthday. I remember that because her birthday was 2 days before Valentine's Day. So we go to her house, and her older brother is playing this out. So that struck me like, I don't know, music that hits you. It completely struck me as this is something different. This is something powerful. And to be able to remember that day, what is that? 30 years ago, 33 years ago. So I hope somebody in your life has done that for you. It can be life-changing. So it started for me there, and the next step, 17 years old, walking a pink sweater in junior high, parents, from that period when I was 12 to 17, obsessive would be kind of the word that you would choose. And so, which happened to just overlay perfectly with this period of 1999. Purple Rain, Sign of the Times, albums that were just unbelievable. So it becomes obsessive, and that obsession is supported by my parents. So for my 17th birthday, I get 2 tickets to go see Prince in Minnesota. And it's really emotional for me, as you can tell. My wife's here. I met my wife that day. And so, I'm sorry. This journey has been really, really powerful. So, please apologize. So I go to pick up the tickets, and my sister lives in Minneapolis, and I'm supposed to pick them up from my brother-in-law. And he couldn't make it, and my brother-in-law to be actually, he was dating my sister at the time. And so at the last minute he says, well, my friend Lauren can meet you, give you the tickets. So I'm 17, I go pick up tickets from Laura, college girl, and it's a pretty amazing moment. I don't even know it, but looking back, it's pretty powerful, because that same day, I get to see Prince in concert. That same day, I go out to Paisley Park. So Paisley Park is Prince's facility where he creates. It's the ultimate maker studio, if you can imagine that. 30,000 square feet. Whatever you're dreaming of, it's bigger than that. So he's created this complex called Paisley Park up in Minnesota. He loves working in Minnesota because it's cold and you stay inside and you just work all the time. So he's created this maker paradise called Paisley Park. So as a 17-year-old, I should go back and mention when I got the 2 tickets, I asked a lot of people in school to go with me, and nobody would go. Now I like to think that was their parents saying no, because at the time Prince had a bit of an edge of sexuality and controversy by design, and so my parents, who supported my dream, I took my mom to the concert. So we go up, my mom and I meet Laura, pick up the tickets, drive out to Paisley Park. I convince my mom the gate's open, let's drive in. And I jump out, and I climb up the back steps, and I step in, and I'm not 1 foot into Paisley Park when I'm told, you better get out from some stagehand. But I stepped inside the holy grail, the holy land of music for me at the time. So what a day, right? September 15th, 1988. So that journey, just in those few years that continues to this day, is pretty powerful. So over the years, from that point, I saw Prince a lot in concert. I'm still a huge fan, all of that. I had a number of opportunities where I might have even been able to meet him. Backstage, somebody I mean, people are very, very close that would meet somebody and be like, hey, you want to meet? I kind of set a mark when I was 17 that I didn't want to meet him. I wanted to work with him. And so over the next, 20 years or so, 15 years at least, one great thing about Laura being from Minneapolis is we'd go to Minnesota all the time to visit family. And so she went to school with a guy named Scotty, who's become a friend of ours that she was friends with then, who was the sound man for Prince. So when we go up to Minnesota and get to visit with Scotty and hang out, like, I'm 1 step removed, right? Like this is so close. And so I heard all these stories, and I got to hear all this background picture of it. And I thought, somehow this is going to work. And it did. So, age 42, big jump there. Over the years, saw Prince a lot of times, but created a design studio. I've always been a creative design person, and using Prince as this kind of benchmark of creativity. Scotty gives me a call. Hey Jason, working with Prince. He thinks he wants to release an app. I thought of you. I'm a Prince fan. Perfect. What does he want? He wants to be able to release his music and have no middleman. He wants to be able to record a song, make a video, sell it, give away whatever he wants to do through his own channel. And that's great. That's what I would want. Okay. Let me come up with something. So I come up with a product called 1 Gig, which is a platform for him to do just that. And I send it back to Scotty. Scotty takes it to Paisley Park and give me another call. He loves it. He'd like to talk to you. Can you come up here? Sure. So we get on a plane and go to Paisley Park. Of course, that's where you're going to meet him. I met at Paisley Park. I'm not kicked out. It took a long time. But I walked into a conference room and there's Prince. He stands up and shakes my hand. Ta-da, anyway. That's a big deal. But I had to pitch my app. So somehow in a blur, I pitched the app, and he's like, "This is cool. This is great. You know, this is what I want to do. Do you want to tour Paisley Park?" Sure. So takes me and walk around Paisley Park, and again, massive complex. There's a band on stage that's rehearsing I've never heard before. There's a horn section with 10 guys in another room that are recording. And he's giving me a tour. And we're talking, and I say, you know, when I was 17, I snuck in here. and he says, he stops and tells the band to call security. He's going to kick me out. He has a tremendous sense of humor. So the surrealness of that is coming back, obviously, to me, because of this dream as a 13-year-old. So we pitch the app, and he says he'll think about it. I'll come back to Dallas, and 2 weeks later, I get a call from his manager, and she says, "We have a song. Would you like to make a lyric video of that?" Prince was like, "Thought you might be able to do that." "Sure, never done that before. I can do that." She's like, "Great. We'll send you a song." So she sends me a song. This is a song that you could smell that it was just finished. Right? This was hours before, and in the Prince world, having a song that nobody's ever heard before, you know, there's this underground cult of trying to find these and collect these. So here I'm like getting one in my email inbox. So I go to work and put together a lyric video. The song's called Screwdriver, and send it back through the channels. Get another call. He loves it. This is great. But it would be better if the band was in it. Some little cutaways. Could you come up here and shoot the band? Okay. Thought I was making a lyric video. Now we're making a video. And I'm like, sure. But can I bring my equipment up there? I want to kind of use my camera and stuff. Sure. You'll have a place. I don't know what that means, but great. Get in the car, drive to Minnesota. It's 14.5 hours, and show up and unload my camera, and all of a sudden, I'm in the game. We're shooting Prince on stage with this band. There's 7 people in the building, right? This is an intimate space, and I'm just welcomed like a creative, very well respected. So we shoot the inserts of the video. It becomes the kind of finished version of this lyric video, and before I know it, I have an office at Paisley Park. So that worked for me. and that's leaving out a number of steps, but in the general story, that's the takeaway, is start new. So that began a kind of a 3-month, 6-month period, 3 months up there, more months down here in Dallas, and I learned a lot. So let's work the theme of the song. Here's 6.5 of those lessons. So, number 1. Let's see if we can. Yeah, maybe that's
dropped our connection there.
I'll continue so we don't hold it up. So when you go to Paisley Park, you learn really quickly that there's no phone to reach Prince. There's no email to reach Prince. He has eliminated distractions in such a way that it is freakish, in a good way. So the space is designed purely for making. So you've got the complex, we have everything you could ever want to create music and videos and art. And then you're removing all the distractions that we associate with our work. As a design studio, as creative spaces, we have all kinds of things we've set up for distractions. So we'll take a quick pause here. And to create an environment that has no distractions is very surreal to be a part of. A day with no meetings, a day with no phone calls, a day with no responsibilities except to make. We all dream about that. We all think that that's kind of this dreamland. I've seen it, and I've seen it day after day, week after week, and it puts you in an entirely different level of creative space. And we all can aspire to that, and as a rock star we can say, okay, that's a thing that people do. But I've literally taken it to heart and tried to bring that into my studio and our daily life. If I don't reply to your email immediately, if you call me and I don't pick up the phone, I've put a priority on my work. And so having seen that and knowing it's possible, the world doesn't fall apart if you don't answer your emails. The world doesn't fall apart if you don't take a call. Scheduling a meeting at 9 in the morning, 1 and 3 in the afternoon, messes up an entire day. So those distractions, when you see them, completely eliminated, and what you can make from that, off the charts, totally different world. So the lesson takeaway is you have to be a little rude. It's a little selfish. It's thinking of yourself, and I think we spend too much time being too courteous to the outside world that is interrupting us. So that's something that Prince taught me is it's not about them, it's about whoever's making it that gets to control the time. So that's number one.
I'll go ahead. These won't be sacrificed by anything visually here. So number 2. Okay, number 2.
Life and work as one thing. So we talked about eliminating the distractions. Let's go even further and eliminate what we typically bring into our lives, which is, what's my work-life balance? Right? How much time am I spending with my family? How much am I doing something I love? And how much time am I spending working? And so that premise that we set ourselves up with is that we have two things that we're trying to balance. And that's the falseness that I think that we can learn from, is if there are two different things, then you might be doing the wrong thing. So the idea that I saw at Paisley Park was that there was never work being done. He would never do work. And if you were doing work around him, not cool. The hardest lesson I learned personally was, if you're not having fun here, you're doing it wrong. Right? Like this whole space, everything we're doing here, money doesn't matter, time doesn't matter, art matters, creating matters. And so that changed my perspective on this live versus work, thinking that somehow what I'm doing in my life is different from when I work. Blurring those lines together, and my wife will probably attest that I spend too much time at the studio, but it doesn't feel like work when I'm there. And then I might work at home sometimes, but I'm not trying to create a distinction between the two of them. So I'm fortunate to have work that I enjoy and love, and I hope everybody else does. But let's strive for this idea that if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. So that's a big lesson that I learned. Number 3, time is an illusion. So Prince has said this in interviews, and I thought, from abstractly from the outside, you're like, what does that mean? And so I do know what it means now. And there's two sides to this coin. So time can be compressed or stretched. So we think of this linear time as an hour is an hour. We've all experienced, hours going by and not, recognizing that time that's lost. That's this kind of stretching of the moment that we're in that disappears against the clock. And a typical day at Paisley Park might be from 2 in the afternoon till 2 in the morning. 12-hour window. Show up at 2 and you go. And quite frankly, the only time the day would stop was, for me, I would give out, physically give out. There's just so much energy that you can give. And a window of time like that, when you've eliminated distractions, when you have an atmosphere that is completely about having fun, you don't want time. You don't want to pay attention to time. There's no clocks in Paisley Park. There's no encouragement of, oh, we're going to do this at 6 o'clock. And so I would show up and be like, okay, what are we going to do today? Like, what? How do we know? We have no idea. So that's a huge, amazing change, is thinking of how much we segment our life and how much we break this into these little windows. And I'm a huge proponent of eliminating these small chunks of time and creating these big windows of time. And that's when we can truly focus and work, iterate, and create. So that's one way, is with all those other pieces, you get this sense of time disappearing. The other side of the coin is we take advantage of too much time. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll start on this and I'll spread this project out over a week, and that's really doing a disservice to good ideas. And I think we've all had a good idea that literally hits us. Oh, this is it. And if you don't write it down, I see a lot of people writing down, that's the way I'm like, oh, I want to write this down, I want to capture that. So the essence of having an idea and what to do with it is about compressing time. And so what happens at Paisley Park is a song comes in. Prince writes a song. We don't see that. That happens kind of in another space. But he shows up with a song. I wrote this morning. Here's the band. I'm going to teach the band the song. Then let's shoot a video or make a little thing for this. And then before we go to dinner, let's put it on the internet. That's the holy grail of creativity. The idea and the finished product never break. Not for food, not for anything. And witnessing that time and time again, the energy, the passion stays at an 11 because you can't stop until it's done. So I myself have tried to change and try to make things and position them that they can get done. It's about what can I finish? Because tomorrow the inspiration might not be the same. And so when we think about creative work, the lesson I think that I want to emphasize here on the time is that you want to get to the point where it's invisible, the time, and you want to be aware enough of the time to know that if I can keep going and get to a point of completion here, the idea, the lightning in the bottle will actually be captured. So that's what Paisley Park is. It's literally the bottle, and when lightning strikes, you're not getting out of there till it's done. Number 4, we can aim higher. So I went to Paisley Park with a bit of a kind of an ego. I'm 42 years old at the time. I've been a successful designer, yeah, I've been welcomed into this tribe. This is cool. I'm a perfectionist. I'm very organized. I got this. The world that I entered into was of a completely higher plane. So let's go back to the app. Hey, let's talk about that app. We got this way we can build this so you can record a song, we can release this song, and he stops and says, "It's not about that." Well, that was the project, right? Like that was the brief that I got, right? Because this is what we want to accomplish. Well, that's the brief that Scotty gave me. The brief really was artists' rights, artists' empowerment. Is I want to fix a problem not for myself, but for all the artists. So this whole iTunes thing and this whole Spotify thing and all these platforms that he's very much against, that was the problem he was trying to solve for all artists, going, why can't anyone in their bedroom write a song and release it and sell it, cut out the middleman? So here, very, very quickly, the idea became not just, oh, let's make an app, let's start a revolution. And that's a tenfold or an order of magnitude change in ideas that ultimately became my own mantra, is it's going to take just as much effort to make something twice as good as it is to make something 10 times as good. Literally, same amount of effort. It's where you're aiming at. So when you aim for something that's an order of magnitude bigger, 10 times better, you're going to channel your same time and effort and resources into that. Why not have a revolution and start something that's bigger? So I've adapted into our practice these principles, and I think that's something we can all kind of strive for. Is when you're aiming high, there's a whole other high that's philosophically, spiritually, powerfully big, big, big above us. And so to be around somebody who that's their baseline, that's their plane. A lot of experience. I talk to people. I'm a user experience designer. I work in strategy for experience. We use that word a lot. I do as well, saying that we do strategy and user experience, and I think we've discounted that word experience heavily into what it really means. So, a good user experience on the ATM machine. Oh, it was easy to use. I knew where to push the buttons, and oh, it was very quick. That's a good user experience. We do that. Oh, the app, one click and you know where you're going on the website. That's a user experience. The measurement for experience is, was it memorable? So, a good experience is a C. That's okay, you didn't make a bad experience. But a memorable experience, as designers, as creatives, when we're thinking about experience, what we're trying to actually accomplish is making something memorable. Because then we've taken something that was fairly small, inconsequential, and given it life. So I left Paisley Park with one guitar pick. That's it. No photos, no notes, no autographs, no signatures. And 1,000 experiences. 1,000 experiences. I'm talking about them today, years later, right? But what I learned was, and the example I'll give you in what Prince thinks of an experience is, think of a concert. So a typical concert, a band would pick 15 songs, they rehearse them for 2 months, they get a light show, it'll be amazing. It'll be the same show in Austin, same show in Dallas, same show in Philadelphia. They've made one experience that's the same, and they can just keep giving it over and over and over. Prince's idea of giving a concert is, and I saw this firsthand, is my studio where I'm working out of is, I can open the door and there's rehearsal all day, from 2 to 2. And so I would hear songs. I know all these songs. Oh my God, another song, another song. The repertoire before going on tours, a band has to know 150 songs. Right? He's got a catalog of 1,000, 1,200 songs, so that's only a small piece of it. But he's picked out 150 songs that everyone needs to know. There's no set list until 5 minutes before the show starts. And that's based on what's the crowd like? What does he feel like? What's the experience going to be for him? What do I want to do tonight? I don't want to decide that the day before. I don't want to decide that the week before. So when the band knows 150 songs, he can give a nod to somebody and change it, or he can play a song 5 times as long. He's having a great experience himself, and you can tell. And the audience then has an experience that nobody else has had. The next show is different, the next show is different. So it's a real problem for us Prince collectors, because every album out there, every recording of every live show is different, and you want to collect them all, and there's thousands of them. So as a die-hard collector, it's amazing, and it's created a community of, he did this, and he did that, and so the experience he's crafted there is something that we all remember. So that's the big thing I want to say about experiences, is that if you don't remember it, it's not a good experience. Number 6, we can be more selective in what we share. So this is a very interesting point for me, because I've kind of believed it before, but now I have proof into the value. So we live in a culture where, I bet even before I'm done here, right, we've already shared a picture or a note. There's some sort of moment that's happened here that's already left this room. We do that with our work. We have sites where you can post work that's in progress. Hey, this is what I did this morning, it's not done. Share, 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 share. Here's everything that we've done in the last 6 years on our website. This premise of social sharing and the ease, the technology, yes, we can. It's possible. We have the tools. Should we is the question. So my take has always been kind of on the erring on the side of privacy and sharing less, but now I have a reason for it. And the reason is, in Prince's world, he records easily 10 to 1 what he releases, makes. 90% of what I did while I was out there is never released. It just didn't evolve. It was just, that was the feeling for the day. Like I said, capturing that lightning in a bottle, that was the lightning for the day, but tomorrow he's on to something else. So make, release very, very little. And the little that gets released passes this test of quality, passes the test of excellence. And so when we get into a mode of sharing everything, what's important? How do I know this piece is, oh, this is the one that really represents how I am, really, really good. That other piece wasn't, that was just a quickie or something like that. There's no discernment of that. So our studio, I think, has like 8 projects on its website. We have 30 clients at any given time. We have a lot going on. We have tons of work. But I don't want to just share that. I want to share it. So a studio called More Simple can get away with that, and I hope other people can adapt some of that as well. So higher quality, less sharing. I think that's an amazing lesson that we can all learn. Less sharing, more importance. Point 5. So 6.5, right? When you saw that title, the intent there as a designer was to go, well, what's that, right? How do you have half a lesson? So the half a lesson was a lesson that was half learned before and now half learned this second time around. So the lesson is from Marty Neumeier, a rock star designer who wrote a book called Zag, which I recommend. And the principle is people expect you to zig, everybody else is zigging, you have to zag, right? Go the other way, go where people aren't. And that's a great idea when you're reading it, and you're like, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be the guy that doesn't follow. I'm going to be the one that leads. So what I experienced up at Basic Park was he's very conscious of what other people expect of him. There's an awareness, and the intent is to be aware of those things to make sure that anything that he does is a zag. If people out there are like, oh, you should release this, and you should go do this, and you should do that, those things are wiped off the list immediately. Somebody's had the idea, it's not an idea to him anymore. Which means he spent the last 35 years going in places that you don't expect him to go. And it's infuriating, but you want, oh, I love this, do more of that. I did that, I'm moving on. So the confidence to zag, the confidence to go where you're not expected, means you're going to go down a lot of paths that don't turn out. But at least you're going down a path that you're leading yourself, and hopefully other people will follow. And you have to zag if you're going to lead. So thanks to Marty Neumeier, thanks to Prince, I think that becomes a mantra, is the idea that you have to go down new paths to discover anything. So that's the takeaway there. So we have these 6.5 points in shorthand. More simple. Internally, what we try to do is what is the fewest words we can say our ideas in. So number 1, be selfish. That's the takeaway. So those who are taking notes. 2, live fun. Right? I don't mention balancing work and life. It is just, are you living fun? Is your work fitting into that? Owning time not owning you. The control of the time, the ability to limit the distractions, all these things that are related to time is an incredibly freeing moment that I think has more impact than we know until we've actually experienced it. And then the opposite side of that coin, where with time, how much can you do in one sitting? What can you actually make as a completion goal? Aiming higher, that 10 times order of magnitude idea, and designing experiences. I hope everyone at least leaves this idea of redefining experience to themselves. Is this going to be memorable, or is it just good? Did I just reach the stage of good? Share less. Please share less. Share all you want about today's thing. And lead the way, being a leader. So those 6.5 lessons, some of you might be thinking, I was thinking, pretty easy for a rock star. Pretty easy when you don't worry about money. Pretty easy when you've got fame. And that's true. But when I started to think about this, and after I'd written these actually, I went back, and this is Prince in 1977. Total rock star. Nobody knew who he was. Totally selfish. Totally only lived for fun. Controlled time, aimed way higher, created experience, shared very little, and he was a leader. So the path to becoming a rock star leads through these. You don't get to just do them once you are a rock star. So that, in essence, I think, is the thing that I take away the most, is that Prince is human. Prince is all the things we can aspire to be. And that was maybe a shock to me. But the takeaway was not, I can't do this. And in fact, the atmosphere at Paisley Park is, you can do this. Why aren't more people doing this? It's a very teaching, giving experience. And so I've taken that, I've shared some of that to you today. And so if there's something that you can take away today, I want to make sure you can remember that. So I got everybody guitar picks. So please come up and get one. Thank you.